Julia's here. Pretty much nailed it right on spot. What is serendipity? Bizarre, I know, right? So serendipity, in the Webster's version of it, it's an occurrence randomly of an event that leads to a positive outcome. And this is universal. We can all work with this. I mean, how many people, raise of hands, have had serendipitous moments in their lives? Everyone. How many people have had serendipitous moments to be here this morning? Everyone. I think it's really cool what Ben and his team did. Normally it's first come, first serve, and they did a drawing, a random drawing, to have people here today. So welcome, I'm glad you're here. I'm honored to be here. The music was fantastic. The serendipitous song, Don't Worry, I'm back here pacing like a madman, you know, and don't worry, you got it, man, there's your moment. So again, thank you for being here, and I'm gonna share a little bit about my story. I know under the risk of running like, oh my God, it's a slideshow about this guy's work. Serendipity runs through my work. It has from the beginning. It's the golden thread that connects us all. So I want to share with you my story and how I got here. But first, I'm going to start with this image. And thanks for the introduction. A seeker of human, a seeker of spirit. The power of a portrait is that you get to be with that stranger. You get to be with that person. How often do you get to stare into someone's eyes outside of your lover, or maybe a really intimate conversation with a close friend or a family member? Just take a minute and just be with that. It may not touch you, it may, I don't know. I'm just, for some reason, I was called to do this at this moment. This is how I get my 20 minutes in. So this is a very serendipitous moment. The reason that this photograph even exists is serendipitous. I attended the world's largest spiritual pilgrimage in 2013 in India. That pilgrimage is called Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Mela, the Indian government, they think that close to 100 million people attended Kumbh Mela in 2013. Kumbh Mela is every 12 years at the banks of the Ganges, Yamuna, and Saraswati rivers. There's a grand pilgrimage that happens. It's a 55-day-long festival. I was there for 18 days shooting a photographic project and a film project, Cloth Paper Dreams, which Ben had mentioned, screened a couple of nights ago, and it's available online now for free. I just released it out for free, so you can go see it. How do you dilute from the visual chaos that was Kumbh Mela for me into the intimate portraits, the intimate moments that I seem to find myself in front of? Serendipity. I was walking the banks this day, surrounded by tens of millions of people that particular day, and something inside of that man, he did not look like this. He was dry, he had a turban on, but he had it wasn't even these eyes. He had different eyes, welcoming eyes that drew me to him. So I approached the man. I said, "Hi, my name is Greg. What is your name? Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Mathura." I said, "Oh, I know Mathura. It's upriver, 4 hours." I was in Mathura in 2012 for Holi, the Festival of Color. I said, "Have you been to Kumbh Mela before?" He said, "No." I said, "Would you bathe today?" The river was behind me. I pointed behind me. I said, "You bathe today?" He said, "No." I said, "You know bathe?" He said, "No." I said, "Me either. I'm not here for that." So we talked a little more, and I said goodbye, and I turned, and a friend of mine, she said, "Who was that?" I said, "I had no idea. I mean, I met him, but I didn't know him before. But something called here. I mean, it was right there, the reason I approached that man. This moment did not exist at that time." She said, "What did you ask him?" I said, "What is his name? Where is he from? Has he been here before? And was he planning on bathing?" Now, the reason that 100 million people come to this pilgrimage is, as a Hindu, they believe in reincarnation. Every 12 years at the confluence of these three holiest rivers, that water turns to the nectar of immortality and allows them to break the cycle of reincarnation and go to the next level. So this is the man's salvation at that moment. She said, I said that he told me that he wasn't going to to bathe. And she goes, Greg, he's in the water. I said, oh, no, he said he wasn't going to bathe. She goes, Greg, he's in the water. I'm looking at him. So I turned around. I ran down to the waterfront, slip and slide through the people, entered the water, fully clothed, up to my waist, pause for approval. He does the drink, and that is the moment of 100 million people coming to Kumbh Mela. I couldn't have gotten that photograph without paying attention to the divine dialogue inside of me, the instinct. We all have it, but that's where this thing comes from. That's where this beautiful image comes from. It's been in 8 museums in Texas and a solo exhibit with 24 other pieces. So that's my dad. He was a big Baylor Bear fan, and I was the high school newspaper photographer at Livingston High School in East Texas, and shot film, shot darkroom, and my dad says, son, what do you want to do? You're about to graduate. This is 1987. And I said, and by the way, I wasn't one of these early, that guy has got talent kid. No, the pictures weren't that good. It was really an excuse to take photographs of the opposing cheerleading team, really. But Dad says, hey, what do you want to do, son? You're about to graduate. And I said, art school? He's like, no. What do you want to do? I said, I don't know. What do you want me to do? 18-year-old kid, I had no clue. But I had a dream that maybe one day I could be a professional photographer and travel the world for a living. But Dad did not have that in his plan. So gratefully, I went to Baylor, got a degree in business, woke up 18 years later. I'd put the camera down, woke up 18 years later, and I was at a desk job in a technology company. I had no idea what was coming my way. This is my family, and unfortunately, none of them are with us anymore. I sort of went through my own personal hell starting in 2000. Most of these family members, my dad, his sister, and her family passed away in a pretty short amount of time. We lost 5 pretty quick, and this was at the beginning of the millennium. I was also attacked by a gang. I came across a bad situation, draw blood and you're in our gang, and I happened to be the blood that was drawn. I've got 40 stitches in my head and neck from a bottle over the head, and then I was beaten while I was on the ground. Was able to get away, scrambled, but I lost a lot of trust in people at that point. I was losing trust in the divine because he'd taken away so many of my family members. I also lost love in that period, and I lost everything I owned in a bad financial move. So drinking, I said, that'll solve the problem. Let's just start drinking, But I found that although the bottle had become my rock, that standing on an empty bottle is not a secure place when on uneven ground. I remember crawling out of bed one night in 2004, and it was almost out of body. The light between the blinds shined on my back, striped across my back. I was shivering cold. I was not just at the end of the rope, I was at the end of the little thread at the end of the rope. And I begged for something greater to engage in my life and give me purpose. Lightning did not strike at that time outside the window, but I quit drinking in 2000, January, for 6 months just to get clarity. And that's when I started receiving the God winks. The serendipity started. The biggest one of those was when my friends Chris and Nicole called and said, we just quit our jobs and we're traveling around the world for a year. Would you like to go? I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty much clear. I'm out. That's all I needed. Gave them a 2-week, and I was on the road. Well, I grabbed a $400 camera, an Olympus, if anyone out there is listening from Olympus. Grabbed an Olympus camera, and I took off, and I went around the world for 1 year. And I really was, I'd been a photographer. I use those in quotes, but I had a camera back in high school 18 years before. But I'd lost so much. Loss of family, loss of trust in God, loss of trust in the system. The finances were gone, lost of trust in women, loss of trust in people. I was attacked. I was not in a good place. but I was not drinking. That helped. So I struck out looking to reconnect, connecting with a man in the Thar Desert in western India. And these are all before I even knew that I'd be standing here on stage with you today. I was seeking things that I'd never seen before. I call this one Day at the Spa. And I was seeking to find myself in front of things that only existed in my dreams. This is a completely serendipitous moment. I couldn't even think that one up. And I don't take pictures of dogs, but this is my only one. And then 9 months into this one-year journey around the world, lightning did strike. I was on a trail in the far north of Vietnam, the highest mountain in Vietnam here, the valley below, a real area of ethnic minority in this northern part of Vietnam. This black Hmong weaver coming from a trail below, from the valley below, and I'm coming from above, from the town of Sapa. The trails intersect, and at that moment, our lives intersected. She was just in front of me, maybe 40 feet, and her hands flashing blue and green as she walked away from me. She didn't see me. So I approached her, double time, walked behind her, tapped her on the shoulder. She turns around, and a white-bearded Western man startled her, of course. So I took a form of submission, praying hands, and asked her with my own hands what was on her hands. It's like she'd never been asked that before. She had to think about it. She didn't speak English. I didn't speak Vietnamese. She looks at her hands. She went. What she is this indigo dyes on her hands. It's all natural dyes, and to be efficient, she uses a double dyeing process in which she has one hand in a vat of blue dye and one hand in a vat of green dye. I had no idea the significance of the photograph in my life. After I asked her to hold her hands out when she told me that's what she did, I took one photograph, and then she looked at me like, cuckoo. I was like, come on ba, which is thank you to an elder woman, come on ba. She turns and walks away and kind of looks over her shoulder back at me as I'm walking back up the hill. So I call this the blanket weaver. It now hangs in collections all over the world. But I didn't realize the serendipity of that moment at that time. And that's the beautiful thing about serendipity. You just don't know. It can come at you later on. And you're like, oh, I see now. This is one of those examples. I didn't realize the importance of this until I returned to the United States and someone suggested, even pushed me towards, just show your work. It wasn't work. It was photos at that point. Now it's work, but I had these images, a year's worth of images from this trip around the world. Well, what do? I came from the corporate world. I was an artist in high school. Now we're talking 20 years ago almost. This is not from the beginning. The beginning came when on West 6th Street, right next to what used to be called Mother Egan's. I believe it was called Mother Egan's. Now it's the Dogwood. Right next to that, right across from J Black's, is a blank parking lot. That was an incubator for this chance for me to be standing here in front of you. So I support roots art in Austin completely. We just beat, I'm in the Thornton Road studio complex, my studio is, and then a developer wanted to come in and wax the whole thing and throw up 5-story condominiums. We fought it hard, and we won with city council. We won the vote 9-1 to keep that place an art place. I don't know if you guys knew that, but not, and it wasn't me, it was all of us together. So, but that little incubator down there was $25 a day. I thought, what the heck, give it a shot, see what happens. I call it my chicken coop days. I couldn't find the photo of it. I wish I had it. But it's pretty simple, but a 1,000-mile journey began with a single step. So this is about 3 years in, and a serendipitous moment happened in this whole process. the previous photographer that was at that market, his name is Lance, had moved to D.C. and befriended some people at National Geographic. In 2000, this was 4 years after, so in 2009, sorry about the timeline, folks. In 2009, Lance was living in D.C. and befriended some people at National Geographic. Serendipitously, there was a National Geographic book sale at the convention center here in Austin, and I happened to be having an exhibit at the Armadillo Christmas Bazaar right next door. And Lance invited one of the people from National Geographic to come by and have a look at my work. Well, here's my dream staring at me in the face. This woman walks in, introduces herself. My heart's beating fast, kind of like it was earlier. And she walks into the booth, and she has her hands behind her back like this, and she's looking at the work. And of course, I'm trying to get anything. Can I see a smile? Can I see? I got nothing. Very stuck. And this is a woman who sees the best photography in the world across her desk. So if I got anything, it would be something. And she turns to me to leave, and she says, "Thank you, and good luck." It's like, I'm glad I really like what I'm doing. Because it hurt, but it's okay. I'm going to keep fighting, man. I'm going to keep fighting. Cut 6 months later. I'm out in Marfa for my birthday. I'm off the grid outside of Marfa, driving back in with my then girlfriend at the time, and my phone hits cellular service and starts to sing. All the messages are coming in. And I'm driving. I pick up my phone. I see NG contract. I was like, read this. I need both hands on the wheel. And she's like, oh my God, pull the car over. We danced into the desert that night. That kind of got me. So this was the first image that National Geographic posted on their website. This is a wig man from Papua New Guinea. We don't really have it here in the States, sort of a rite of passage as young men, but in Papua New Guinea they do. They bring the young boys into what's called a spirit house when they are young and ready to become of age, and the elders teach them the ways of being a wig man. It's an 18-month apprenticeship, and at the end of that apprenticeship, they cut the young boys' hair and they hand them what I refer to as a moss sombrero. That's the best way I can kind of explain what it is. It's an organic hat that's underneath this, and then they weave their own hair into that base. And when you see these not young men anymore, he's probably in his early 20s, mid 20s, and to see them lined up was just majestic. Back to serendipity doesn't always show its face immediately. This is in Burma in 2008. And the thread that runs through this, there's a narrative that's running through this image beyond what I initially sort of expected, and it's that Buddhism is about enlightenment, and Buddhism is about awakening. I call this image on the path, and there's an enlightenment from left to right, and there's also an awakening from left to right. So hopefully we are all that fourth person that's on the end that we don't see. To the unexpected, undirected photograph in the Omo Valley in southern Ethiopia, I couldn't have thought this up. I was photographing a young African girl on top of my 4x4, got her approval, she came over, got a beautiful shot of her, and I turned around. Always as a photographer, look behind you. So I turned around, and there in the morning sun is this moment. I jumped off the top of the 4x4, midair, switching gears, knowing what I needed on my camera, landed on the ground, went in the dirt, shot the shot, and the moment was gone. Again, I think I got the same as Blanket Weaver, which is, cuckoo, what's this guy doing, you know? Rolling around in the dirt. Well, that's the reason why right there. I brought this image. It has nothing to do with serendipity. I just like it. I'm an ambassador for Well Aware. Well Aware is a nonprofit based here in Austin. And we build water wells in remote Kenya, sustainable water solutions for people who don't have access to clean drinking water, and that fosters, deep water wells foster development. Pump wells don't. Pump wells break, pump wells are shallow, pump wells are high energy, low yield, but a deep water well will foster a community, and next thing you know, the girls aren't having to go for water, they're getting to go to school. I worked with the children to co-create this image. I call it Circle of Gratitude. It's in a village called Alamak. That was 2015. This is 2016. Same project, same Well-Aware, but in a different village. This is in a village called Daba. Now there's schools in Daba. There are girls graduating from the 9th grade for the first time because of this water. So hats off to Well-Aware for doing the work they do. If you're looking for a local nonprofit to engage with, it's a good one. And I circle back to Kumbh Mela to give you a sense in the scale and scope of this pilgrimage, this every 12-year pilgrimage that happens at the confluence of the three rivers where 100 million people came. These are all temporary pontoon bridges. This is a temporary city that's set up every 12 years in the banks of this river. 11 years of the rest of the time, there's nothing but a river. On the top left of that image, I met another man at Kumbh Mela like I met the first man. But that man called me over, physically called me with his hand, not with his eyes. So I came over to Mohan. And I sat with him for 3 days. I asked Mohan, where are you from? He said, the sky is my roof, the land is my room. Whoa. Wow, awesome. Where do you hang out? He said, I live near the birthplace of Krishna. In Mathura? That's where the first man was from. Synchronicity, serendipity, coincidence? I think not. So, in August of 18, I'm heading back to Mathura to find a man somewhere between the heavens and the earth, not for the man, but for the wisdom that resides within the man. And along the way, I discovered that the wisdom resided in me, us, the whole time. I hope when you leave here, you find yourself in the right place at the right time, most of the time. Thank you. This is weird, but I know how to say I like my food spicy in about 6 languages. Saya suka makan padas. In Indonesian, I like my food spicy. Makpet, more spice in Thailand. I don't know, it's just my thing, because they say, okay, let's just water it down a little bit. But no, Texan, I like it.